submit yourself to God. I'm not really one to do with maybe interviews or people's stories or stuff like that. My conviction is based on the Bible. But I saw one interview of someone who used to be a witch and got born again. And she described something that I see. You have to understand, it is not only people who practice negative spirituality that can see. Something that I see. When I see people who are vulnerable, there are some people who are vulnerable. You can be a church goer and be vulnerable. And she said, even if it's a Christian, two people have said this, by the way, two people that I know of. A Christian whose walk with God is not as it should be. You can tell that they belong to God. But okay, the other person described it this way. It's like in the realm of the spirit, you see an armor, but there is a spot. The armor is vulnerable, is compromised. There is an avenue for attack. I was describing how there are some things that a believer can do that can, listen, this is well founded in the scriptures. That when this false prophet is supposed to cast a spell on God's people, he discovers by spiritual observation and divination that there is no enchantment against Jacob and there is no divination against Israel. So he changes his strategy. And what he does is that he introduces God's people to, for instance, sexual lewdness. And he made God's people to have affairs with the temple prostitutes. Listen, I'm going to teach on this so that you understand why the media is the way it is. You have to understand. Old Testament temple worship, let me describe it to you. There were brothels in the temples. It was part of the worship. Listen, you have to understand, sex is a crucial part of satanic worship. A crucial part. That if the enemy wants to take over someone's soul, he wants the soul corrupted. And one of the ways they do that, it is by all kinds of sexual perversion. And that is why it was part of their worship. They were temple prostitutes. Temple prostitutes. Are you listening to this? There's a long teaching. What I'm telling you is actually the oldest religion in the world. It is marked by two things that you will see in every generation in different shapes and forms. Number one, child sacrifice. And number two, sexual lewdness. The day I teach on this thing, heaven will fall. Because your eyes will open. You will see that you will see that the witchcraft in Nigeria is still learning. It's still learning. This is not that type of service. I'm going to need to show you beyond reasonable doubt, because and I'm going to need to show you in the Bible so you see it. The name of the idol has changed from generation to generation. But the most popular name, arguably, is Molech. And it's an idol that had an outstretched arm. And it was made of metal. And so they will heat up the metal and they will put their children, newborn babies, on the hands of the idol. And the babies will burn to death. And then they're just beating drums. Not just to worship, but to drown the cry of the baby. That system of worship happens in many hospitals. It's not a conversation for today. You see, the church has become so carnal that if you want to expose some things, it's even Christians that will fight you. You know, I did a video explaining the deity of Christ to Muslims. It was Christians that were arguing in the comments. So, God help his church. We get problem. So, just imagine how the Muslims would have felt that, so when you people decide what you believe, then come and evangelize. It was Christians that were arguing in the comments. Jesus is not God. Go church, you know, go. I am telling you, there are some Christians, that if they cast spells on, it will work. Some of you know what I'm saying. It ought not to be. And excuse my singling out the phraseology that Jesus used in saying, ought not this daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, to be loose? Ought not. It's a contradiction. She's a daughter of Abraham. Why is she bound? Ought not. There are things that if you are not careful, they ought not to be, but they will be. Are you listening to this? So don't just open up your heart. Let me tell you something. Oh my God. Since I started preaching, there is nobody I have told a demon to come out of and the demon didn't come out of. So there was one lady. 30 minutes, we are still at my level. So I was shocked. What is going on here? And it was not a power problem, because the moment I entered the room, the power of God hit her. She was on the floor. See, by the grace of God, I have experience. So when it lasts more than 5 minutes, I know that there is some legality. Are you listening to me? So now I'm trying to inquire. There are some things if I say here, it will sound very strange to you. But I've seen people who are bound, they don't even know the history. But their spirit man knows. And so there is a way to bypass. Hey, don't worry. That's me. You know, in some prayer meetings, you are hearing 3 voices from the same person. The person's consciousness, the person's spirit, and then the demon. And the demon is saying, shut up, don't tell him. I said, let her speak. Where did it start? If you hear history, I pity people who don't have a prayer life. Do you know what she told me? I think I've said this story somewhere. That their grandma was about to die. She was sick, but they didn't know she was about to die. So they brought grandma to the house out of goodwill to cater for grandma and to treat her so that she would recover. Not knowing grandma had a different mission. Grandma wanted to pass over witchcraft mantle. And so in the night, she was 6 at the time. She had a dream. The grandma came to her, gave her a nut to eat. She ate the nut and listen to this. She woke up physically, sleepwalking. Walked to her younger brother, who was 1 year or under, sexually molested him. And that was her initiation. Now, that boy became autistic from that day. See, when we tell you some things, let me tell you, and that's what I'm saying. Just imagine churchgoers, and those kind of things are happening in your house. Can I tell you something? What I just told you, her parents don't know till date. Till date. Did you hear what I said? Okay. You know, I love Jesus. I'm not trying to be the biggest man of God. Someone needs help. Maybe there's a higher grace. So, by Kairos, the person that taught me how to cast out devils was flying into the country. I said, thank God you're around, though. I will send someone to you. So that one too, 1 hour. I said, no, something is wrong. So when they were done, put her on a seat and started interviewing her. Is there someone that you have not forgiven? Hey, my ex, he broke my heart. I will never forgive him. Why are you wasting our time? Hug your bondage in peace now. Why did you waste our time? You would have told us. I will never forgive him. Oh, really? Okay. It's right there. As we forgive those who trespass. See, I am explaining to you that there are some things that step you out of the covering of God. They step you out. See, let me tell you something. Unforgiveness is one of the worst things that can happen. In fact, sometimes the reason why the enemy orchestrates trauma is not just because he hates you, it's because of the vulnerability of your soul that will be left. The scar that will be left. Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
See, even sexual abuse is not the worst thing that happened to you. The worst thing that happened is that you have not healed. It is that vulnerability. I am telling you, it is part. See, I don't want to tell you stories. Someone said part of his initiation, they sent people. They locked him in a room and they sent people to the room to rape him. They raped him. Different people. Because they just wanted his soul to be vulnerable. That's what the enemy wants. And now you think it's the act. The act is horrible, I know. But it's even worse that you have not healed. I'm exposing it so that you see, you know what? This is part of the deliverance. You now say, oh, this is what the enemy has been holding on to. Are you getting it now? So this is it. I know daddy hurt you, but you must let go. Are you listening to? Should I beg you? Should I beg you? You must forgive.